The voice exploded from the back row like a gunshot. "This is nonsense." Bruce Lee stopped mid-sentence, his hand still raised to illustrate the arc of redirection he'd been explaining. The auditorium, 200 college students packed into rows of creaking wooden seats, went silent. Not the polite silence of listening, but the throat-tight silence of witnessing a collision about to happen. Physics is real. The voice boomed again, closer now. "You cannot defeat a 240-pound man at 135. Stop selling fantasy." A man rose from his seat, 6 feet 2 inches of muscle and certainty. His shoulders filled the aisle as he descended, each step deliberate. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed, suddenly too loud in the stillness. Bruce lowered his hand, turned, his frame lean, compact, impossibly small against the stage backdrop, didn't shift or tense. He simply watched, the way a still pond watches a stone before it breaks the surface. Imagine being one of those students, the air so thick you could taste the copper tang of adrenaline on your tongue. The big man stopped 10 feet from the stage. His jaw was set, his fists hung loose at his sides. Bruce met his eyes, and what happened in that locked gaze would change everything both men thought they understood about combat. Bruce's voice cut through the silence. "You think it is impossible." Patterson's jaw tightened. "I know it is impossible. 20 years wrestling. Weight classes exist for a reason." The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Students held their breath. Bruce tilted his head slightly. "Would you like to test your theory?" Patterson's shoulders squared. His hands opened and closed at his sides. "Absolutely." His voice carried the certainty of a man who had pinned hundreds of opponents. "Let us settle this scientifically." He moved first. His footsteps echoed in the auditorium, heavy and deliberate. Bruce descended from the stage, his movements fluid, almost soundless. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Patterson walked like a man who owned the earth beneath him. Bruce moved like water finding its path. They crossed toward the open floor space in front of the stage. Students shifted in their seats, chairs creaking. The air grew dense with anticipation. Patterson rolled his shoulders, loosening muscle. Bruce's expression remained unchanged, calm as still water. The empty space waited. 2 men, 2 philosophies, one about to be proven catastrophically wrong. But neither man knew the collision would take only 23 seconds to reshape everything Patterson believed about combat. Whispers rippled through the auditorium, low, anxious, electric. Patterson shrugged off his jacket. The fabric slid from shoulders that could carry engine blocks. His neck was a tree trunk, thick, corded with muscle that shifted visibly beneath skin. The white shirt stretched tight across his chest. 240 pounds of bone and power, shaped by 20 years of crushing opponents into mats. Bruce stood 3 feet away, relaxed, still. His arms hung loose at his sides. 135 pounds. Anyone watching would see a boy standing before a mountain. Patterson rolled his neck left, then right. The joints cracked like knuckles, a sound that echoed through the silent room. He stretched one arm across his chest, then the other. His forearms were thicker than most men's calves. Students shifted in metal seats. The scraping noise punctuated the tension. A girl in the 3rd row bit her thumbnail. The boy beside her leaned forward, eyes wide. Patterson smiled, not cruel but certain. This would be educational. The kids needed to understand reality. Bruce's expression remained unchanged. No fear, no doubt, just presence. Few could have guessed what those 23 seconds would cost the man who smiled so confidently, or what they would teach him about the space between strength and power. Bruce's voice cut through the tension. "Wrestling rules or no rules," Patterson didn't hesitate. "No rules, real fight, first to submit." Bruce nodded once, agreement sealed. They faced each other on the open floor. The physical contrast was brutal. Patterson outweighed Bruce by over 100 pounds, maybe more. His forearms were thicker than Bruce's biceps. His neck, hardened by 2 decades of bridging and grinding, looked carved from oak. Bruce's frame seemed impossibly slight beside him, a child standing before a mountain. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. 200 students held their breath. No one coughed. No one shifted in their seats. The air itself felt compressed, waiting. Patterson rolled his shoulders one last time. Bruce stood with his hands low, relaxed at his sides. The distance between them was perhaps 6 feet. It might as well have been an ocean. A girl in the third row gripped the armrest of her chair. A young man near the back leaned so far forward he nearly fell from his seat. The silence deepened. Patterson's weight settled onto the balls of his feet. Bruce's breathing remained perfectly steady. The physics were undeniable. The outcome seemed written in their very bodies. But in 23 seconds, one of these men would discover that physics and power were not the same thing. Patterson shifted his weight, a wrestler's tell. His left foot slid back 6 inches. His shoulders dropped half an inch lower, 20 years of muscle memory coiling into a familiar pattern. Bruce stood motionless. His hands hung low, almost lazy. His breathing remained steady, slow, deliberate. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Patterson radiated pure kinetic energy waiting to detonate. Bruce appeared carved from stillness itself. The students leaned forward in their seats. Wood creaked. Someone's pencil rolled off a desk and hit the floor, the sound sharp as a gunshot in the silence. No one moved to pick it up. Patterson's massive shoulders rolled forward. The fluorescent lights cast shadows across the deep grooves of his trapezius muscles. His neck was a column of tension. His jaw set, every fiber of his body broadcast certainty. Bruce's face showed nothing, no fear, no aggression, no anticipation. His eyes tracked Patterson with the same calm focus he'd used moments earlier explaining physics. 2 approaches to combat, about to collide. The air itself felt charged, electric. The auditorium had become a pressure chamber. Time stretched impossibly thin. Patterson's fingers flexed once, twice. His weight settled into the balls of his feet, and then everything accelerated at once. One breath, too. Patterson's eyes narrow, a predator calculating distance. Bruce does not blink. His gaze holds steady, unreadable, calm as deep water. No one in the auditorium moves. 200 students suspended between heartbeats. The fluorescent lights hum overhead, a mechanical drone filling the silence. The sound seems impossibly loud. Patterson's fingers flex once, twice, opening, closing. Bruce's weight settles imperceptibly, almost invisible, his knees bending a fraction of an inch. The air feels thick, dense, heavy with anticipation. 3 seconds pass, 4, the moment stretches. The space between them becomes a chasm of possibility. Everything that will happen exists in potential, hovering, unrealized. Few could understand the tension vibrating through that auditorium, the unbearable weight of stillness before collision. Patterson's left foot slides forward half an inch. His shoulders dip. Bruce remains motionless. Then, Patterson explodes. His body launches across the space with shocking speed for a man his size. Muscles uncoil. Weight drives forward. The takedown comes fast, perfect, 20 years of technique compressed into pure explosive violence. But what happened in the next 3 seconds would change everything Patterson believed about combat. Patterson drove low, knees bent, arms extended. A perfect double-leg takedown, 20 years of muscle memory compressed into explosive motion. Bruce's hips shot backward, his legs spread wide, base dropping. The sprawl came instant. Automatic, but Patterson's head was already inside, his shoulder driving forward, his hands reaching for Bruce's knees. Bruce's right arm snaked around Patterson's neck, the forearm pressed against the throat. His left hand gripped Patterson's right wrist, trapping it against his own chest. A guillotine choke locked mid-entry. Patterson powered through. He lifted, 240 pounds of raw force rising from the crouch. Bruce's feet left the floor completely. The smaller man hung suspended, dangling from Patterson's neck like a human noose. Students gasped. Someone's chair scraped backward. Bruce shifted. His legs swept up, hooking around Patterson's waist. His ankles crossed at the small of Patterson's back. The arm around the neck tightened. not a squeeze, a compression, steady, mechanical. Patterson's breathing changed, the air passages narrowed. He tried stepping forward, but Bruce's weight pulled differently now, angled, leveraged. The choke was tightening with every heartbeat, and Patterson suddenly understood he'd walked directly into the trap. Patterson's neck compressed tighter with each heartbeat. The pressure wasn't pain, not yet, it was absence. Air stopped reaching his lungs. His face flushed crimson, veins bulging along his temples. 5 seconds. He pivoted hard, trying to slam Bruce into the floor. His legs drove downward, but Bruce's body adjusted mid-motion, the arm around his throat like a vice wrapped in silk. The auditorium tilted. Fluorescent lights blurred into halos. 10 seconds. Patterson's vision darkened at the edges. His hands clawed at Bruce's forearm, finding only rigid muscle and precise angles. No space, no air. His chest screamed. 15 seconds. Panic replaced confidence. His massive frame staggered. The faces of 200 students dissolved into shadows. His right hand slapped frantically against Bruce's thigh. 3 sharp taps. Bruce released instantly. Patterson collapsed forward onto his hands and knees, gasping, coughing. The cold floor pressed against his palms. Air rushed back into his lungs like fire. Sweat dripped from his chin. 23 seconds total. Bruce knelt beside him, voice calm. You used your strength to lift me. I used your momentum to tighten the choke. Leverage adapts, force resists. Patterson looked up, still gasping. But something in Bruce's expression suggested the lesson had only just begun. The shuffling began slowly, feet against linoleum, backpacks zipping. 200 students filed toward the exit without a single word, their faces pale under the fluorescent hum. The double doors swung shut with a hollow thud. And then silence. Patterson remained on the cold floor, chest heaving, sweat pooling beneath his palms. His neck throbbed where the choke had crushed. He watched Bruce collect his notes from the podium, movements calm, unhurried. 23 seconds, 15 years of wrestling, gone. He forced himself to stand, his legs trembled. Bruce looked up. Patterson walked forward, each step heavier than the last. He stopped 3 feet away, waited. Then the words came, quiet and raw. I have been teaching wrestling 15 years. His voice cracked. I thought I understood fighting. I only understood one type. Bruce said nothing. Patterson's hands opened at his sides, vulnerable, empty. Can you teach me the rest? Bruce studied him. 10 seconds, 20. His gaze stripped away every layer, pride, reputation, certainty. Patterson did not look away. Finally, Bruce nodded once. Yes. Patterson exhaled. Relief flooded through him, but Bruce's expression held something else. Something that suggested the real test had not even begun. 3 years later, the wrestling mat smelled of sweat and rubber. Patterson moved through the demonstration fluidly. He shot low, his wrestler sprawled, but Patterson trapped the arm mid-motion, transitioned to a standing guillotine. The kid tapped. Fast again, Patterson said. The team watched, silent. This wasn't the wrestling they'd learned in high school. Coach, a sophomore finally asked, why'd you change everything? You were state champion. Traditional worked. Patterson helped the kid up. His grip was different now, lighter, more aware. I spent 20 years being the best at one thing. He paused, remembering the auditorium, the fluorescent lights, the taste of humiliation. Bruce Lee showed me in 23 seconds that makes you vulnerable. The wrestlers glanced at each other. They'd heard the story. Nobody believed it at first. One style makes you predictable, Patterson continued. Adaptation makes you complete. He demonstrated again, this time adding a palm strike as the sprawled defender recovered. The kid's balance broke instantly. Outside, rain tapped against the gym windows. Patterson no longer saw opponents as puzzles with single solutions. He saw infinite variables, endless angles. The mat felt different under his feet now, softer, more forgiving. He had finally learned how to learn.